Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Not Just a Pony Ride podcast. I am your host, Emma Bunda, and today we are talking about something that happens behind the scenes at Hetra that I think has a much bigger impact than people might realize. That is leader practice. For anyone who is not familiar with it, leader practice is an opportunity for volunteers to work with our horses outside of their regular scheduled lesson time. But there's actually a lot more to it than just giving volunteers extra time with the horses. So today we're going to talk about what leader practice is, what it looks like, why we developed it, and how something like this can be beneficial for both volunteers and, most importantly, your horses. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is leader practice and what does a typical session look like? Here at Hetra, we currently run 6 45-minute sessions each week. So we have a Monday and Wednesday night session and a Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday afternoon session. We stagger these times because it allows us to reach different volunteers on different days, and it just makes it a little bit more accessible for them to join this leader practice either before or after the sessions that they're scheduled to already be here. So there's no need for them to make an extra drive out to Hetra just for one training. All of these sessions are led by one of our horse team staff members. We allow 4 volunteers in each session to participate, and then we have 4 additional audit spots available, so 2 for volunteers and 2 for staff. We offer these audit spots so that our full-time staff, part-time staff can come and audit and hear how our horse team members are providing feedback to our leaders. This is something that's really, really valuable because then the staff that are there auditing can then take that and transfer that into their sessions when they're also with volunteers. Our horse team staff are the people who are with the horses the most. They know them the most. And unfortunately, that is sometimes just not possible for our other instructors and therapists, especially when they're part-time, to have that same level of knowledge. So that is why we really encourage our instructors and therapists to come and audit leader practices at least once a month. Our leader practices are not meant to take the place of a volunteer training per se, but our leader practices are more of a continuing education for our volunteers, an additional opportunity to work with horses that maybe they've been struggling with, or maybe horses that they have never worked with before. Our audit spots are also additionally really valuable for volunteers. So usually our arena is split in half when we are doing these leader practices. So there are usually sessions going on the other side. So having only half the arena, we cap the number of participants, so a volunteer that can be working with a horse, to 4, just so that we make sure that those people have enough space. It's not too crowded of an arena, and they can work on the things that they need to, and so that the instructor of the leader practice can make sure that they can give everyone attention in that leader practice. So we offer 2 volunteer audit spots, which are also really valuable, especially when people have different learning styles. I think sometimes it helps to watch someone else lead and hear the feedback that is being given. And sometimes that connection just happens a little bit easier when they're outside of actually handling the horse. Something that might come to mind when you're thinking about leader practice might be, how did you know that you needed something like this? So if we think about our leaders doing a regular session and us as instructors or therapists, our focus is primarily on the participant and providing the best experience for them, also while managing our horses, also while managing our sidewalkers, also while watching our spacing, also while making sure that we're having an effective lesson plan. All that can be a lot. So there's not always time to stop and deeply work through a volunteer's issues they may be having with the horse or questions they may have. Leader practice gives us dedicated time where the volunteers and the horse can be the focus. We can slow down, problem solve, and give much more thorough feedback. Especially, I know for a lot of people, the what, whys, hows really matters for them. So that one-on-one assistance can really be beneficial. And by doing this in leader practice, we're not taking away from the participants' session. We also found that a lot of our volunteers really had a need and a desire for continued education. Any opportunity that we provided, we found that our volunteers really jumped on it and craved more knowledge, which is great. but it can also be a problem if you don't have something set up to provide that for them. So thinking volunteer retention, providing continued education for them in another way shows that they're valued, they're appreciated, and we also want to see them grow just as much as they want to grow to be able to work within your organization. Here at Hetra, we also have designated leader levels and designated horse levels. So thinking about that, we knew that we needed a way for our volunteers to advance through those levels. And it just made the most sense that these practices also needed to be consistent for our volunteers to get consistent practice and feedback to be able to move through those levels. So if you want to learn more about our levels, our Wand 101 webinar is coming out, but we have blue, gold, platinum, platinum plus, and horse team leader levels. So everyone starts as a horse handler and then moves into a blue leader. Even our horse handlers attend leader practice, and that way we can help them learn how to take horses in and out of the stall, learn how to take horses outside, bring them in, and how to safely hand walk in the arena, which is something that we do before we warm our horses up for sessions. So we don't always have our horse handlers lead with a wand. In leader practice, we'll also often have them begin practicing with the wand because they are working towards that blue level leader. But to be just a horse handler, they do not need a wand. So we just go through basic leading, walk on, whoa, weaving, things like that, so that we know that they're safe enough to just handle horses. Another reason that this is something that's really essential for us here at Hetra is because how many times do you see something in sessions and you're like, oh, I can't address this right now, or a volunteer has a question for you about something that happened in a session maybe a week or two ago, and you did not have eyes on that situation. We also see that pretty often, and we do something called a leader feedback form. It's just a jot form online, and instructors and therapists, horse team members, anyone, even volunteers can fill out this form if they're having an issue in sessions, if a horse did something weird in sessions, anything like that. They fill out this jot form online, and it comes across everyone's email, horse team program director. It comes across everyone's email, and then every week when our horse team meets, we'll go through those horse feedback forms and kind of see, okay, what do we need to look at this week? What do we need to address in leader practice? When is this person going to be at leader practice so we can address this? It's also a great way to say, hey, I see you. I see this issue that you're having. Can you come to leader practice on Tuesday and we can work on it? It just allows everyone to feel validated in what they're seeing and not just like, oh yeah, Bob the horse did that in sessions and I don't know, it's kind of weird, but maybe it won't happen next week. That way, with leader practice and our feedback forms, this does not happen, and no one is feeling like, oh gosh, I have to come back and I have to lead Bob the horse today. And what if he does that weird thing again and no one's going to help me? We're going to take a quick break from today's episode to share an exciting update. All of our on-demand webinars on hetrauniversity.org are now available for 7 full days after purchase. We totally get how busy life gets, especially in our field, so now you can learn whenever it best fits into your week. If you haven't already seen it, we also have a brand new webinar out, Beyond the Behavior, Navigating Mental Health in the Arena. This is specifically tailored for instructors to learn the meaning behind some behaviors they may encounter in the arena and how they can move forward in best supporting their participants. And one more thing, go ahead and mark your calendars for next Friday, August 21st, when our new Wand 101 webinar drops. We'll be diving into why we use our magic wand leading technique, how we implemented it, and how beneficial it's been across our entire program. We are releasing new webinars every single month, so make sure to keep an eye out for those. To register or view all available webinars, click the link in our show notes or head over to hetrauniversity.org. All right, let's get back into the episode. Another way that leader practice has been really valuable, and we knew that it was something that we had to implement, was the process of getting new horses and getting them started up in sessions and through mocks and all that. Once we got to the point where we were ready for them to be in sessions, no volunteers has handled them at this point. So we needed a way to integrate our horses into our volunteers' hands, and leader practice is a perfect place to do that because it allows us to have really thorough communication about this new horse. And sometimes when a new horse comes in, volunteers can rightfully be a little nervous about it, right? They don't know that horse, they've never worked with it. The answer is leader practice. So it allows them a safe space to kind of work with that horse, obviously make mistakes, get a feel for it. We do not want the first time a volunteer is working with a brand new horse, no matter the leader level of that person, we do not want that first time that they're putting hands on that horse and getting to know that horse to be 5 minutes before a session. That's one of my favorite things about leader practice is we often wonder, okay, is this just for our leaders? No, it is also as equally beneficial for our horses. The more educated our volunteers are, the better they can understand what a horse is communicating. They can recognize their changes, adjust their approach, and overall have a more successful session because of the knowledge that they have on the horse that they're leading. It ultimately benefits the horse, but I think it also benefits the entire session that that horse is in, the entire week that that horse has. Because even if they have 5 different leaders that week, all 5 of those leaders have that same knowledge on that horse, and that horse can be treated and communicated and worked with the same way each session. So here at Hetra, we have a checklist for each leader level, like I talked about earlier, and that checklist contains what the leader should be able to do at each level. So blue is our most basic, and platinum plus is our most advanced leaders. And a lot of the time, we get people coming to leader practice because they're looking to move up in leader level. So we might have someone who has been leading in sessions at a blue level with our blue horses. So in leader practice, we will have them work with the next level of horses, which would be gold. This way, we have time to talk through the differences in blue and gold horses, the different set of quirks or communication styles that gold horses have as opposed to blue horses. So when I say blue horse, our blue horses are traditionally very steady Eddie horses. They could do their job without a leader, right? Our gold horses, they know their job, but they still want someone there kind of affirming them and saying, hey, yep, this is what we're doing. We're going to keep going this way. They want a partner, I like to say. And then we move into our platinum plus. Those are horses that really need a leader. They might need a little bit more firmness. They might be a little bit more sensitive. So that's kind of the things that we know as horse team members that that level of horses needs. And so then we're able to translate that in leader practice and allow them a safe space to work on it before we expect them to demonstrate it independently. So we rarely ever pass someone in a leader practice. Every week we have what we call a leader meeting where we sit down as a horse team and with our volunteer staff and we talk through how leader practices went. So Tuesday I had Sally, Joe, and Tom, and we talked through who they worked with and how they did. Everyone else talks about their leader practice, and then we might have a conversation of, so hey, how's Sally been doing? Have you seen her in any leader practices? Do you think she's ready to move up to gold? If that decision is unanimous, then we will go and run through the checklist and let Sally know, hey, we're going to move you to gold. We think you're doing really good. And then starting that week in sessions, she'll be leading gold horses. Sometimes we'll have a horse team member there during sessions to kind of observe for the first couple minutes to see how it's going. And once it's going good, then we just kind of let them continue on. After each leader practice, the volunteers that participated will also fill out a leader practice form, and it just asks questions on a scale of 1 to 5 on different areas that they think they did well, areas that they think they need improved on, and they can leave notes at the bottom. So during our leader meetings, those are really beneficial to read through as a team and kind of see, hey, where do we think Sally's thinking that she's at? What does she feel like she needs to work on? And that gives us really good insight moving forward into the next week of leader practice. Okay, hey, I've seen a lot of people, they need a refresher on the mounting block, or a lot of people are struggling with getting big horse bob to slow down. We can work on that in leader practice. Those are really good insights to have, because sometimes those things don't always show up in a form, or they might not always tell you that. So it's good to know ahead of time common themes and things that we see across the board as a team that we can work on in leader practice as well. So while leader practices be something that we use to help volunteers move up a level, it's not always the case for everyone attending leader practice. So we have some people that know their comfortability level and they're like, I do not want to be platinum plus. I do not feel like I would succeed at that level, but I want to maintain my platinum status. So that just means that they continue to come to leader practice to keep their skills fresh. So we don't want leaders going months without leading, right? Especially if sometimes you get leaders that come in as a sub, they don't have an opportunity to lead anywhere else besides in sessions. So we really value our subs, right? We always need people, and people are always going on vacation and taking sick time, and people have busy lives. So we value our subs, but we want to make sure that their skills are staying fresh, which is also another really good reason to have leader practice. So when we have a leader that's coming just to maintain their leader level, we'll have them work with horses in that level. So let's say they're a platinum leader, they're going to work with all of our platinum horses, and we don't just want them working with platinum horse Tim, right? We're going to have them work with all of our platinum horses that we have, because although they are all in the same level, each one of them is a little bit different, right? So that still allows us to talk about the differences in them, their different communication styles, any quirks they might have, or any areas that we often see, which each horse is where they may struggle a little bit more. So we'll talk through that stuff, give them heads up about that, talk through what an effective warm-up looks like with each horse in that level. So our leaders will bring our horses out before sessions, 10 to 15 minutes before. They're saddled up, they're ready to go, and they will do what we call an effective warm-up. So it's going to look like stopping, backing, quick transitions, trotting to walking. The follow me game is something that we talk about a lot in leader practice, and it's essentially just getting our horses in tune with our body language versus like our concrete clues. So all those things are really good to work on in leader practice. And I've never once felt like, oh, I have nothing to teach, right? Our horses are always changing. Our leaders are always changing. And more importantly, our leaders are always eager to learn. And I think that really shows with those people that consistently attend leader practice. You're never going to run out of something to teach them because they have that want for knowledge. Another side of leader practice that has been really valuable for us is using leader practice as a way to assess horse levels. So, what level that horse requires to be led at. So, although we're in the arena a lot as horse team members and instructors and therapists, we are probably working with those higher level horses and not necessarily those blue and gold level horses. So by running leader practices, we're able to see if those horses levels are changing the longer that they've been in their job. So if I have a horse that's a gold horse, and I'm having a lot of blue people work with that gold horse, and that gold horse is really succeeding with those blue level horses, those blue level leaders, it might be worth having a conversation of, hey, have you guys noticed this horse seems to be doing really well with the blue leaders? Like, do we think it's worth trying to drop them down to a blue level in sessions? And then that's also going to in turn help with scheduling and volunteers, because a bulk of our leaders are blue leaders, since that's where everyone starts. So that's something that's really interesting trickle down effect to see, that we are able to assess horses more frequently for what type of level leading that they need. Obviously, it's like every program's dream to have a barn full of blue, steady Eddie horses that any beginner can lead, right? I like to say clear is kind when communicating with horses, and our horses see so many volunteers a day, between the people that bring them in from turnout, the people that groom them in the stall, the people that hand walk them, the people that tack them, the people that check their tack, the people that are leading them in sessions, they see so many hands a day. And imagine if every person was talking to them in a different language. So I think that is the biggest part of leader practice, is that the consistency really shows in the retention and the happiness of our horses in their job. So all this may sound like a lot, right? And you may be thinking all of this is impossible to do right now. But I urge you guys to start, if you haven't already, have a checklist of what your leaders need to be capable of doing. If you don't have levels, just have a general checklist of, I need all of my leaders to be able to do A through D. Start there, and then just maybe have one leader practice a month. Hey guys, whoever's interested, if you want to come in, we're going to do some practice leading 3 of our horses, and we're going to talk through some things that are really important and that we want everyone to be doing the same. And on top of just explaining what they need to be doing, explain why. Explain why it needs to be the same. Explain why we are choosing to do it this way. Obviously, every program does things differently for their horses, but I find that volunteers, once they know the why behind something, they're more likely to continue to do it that way because they know why in their head. So it's for our horses' retention. It's so that our horses can stay happy. It's so that our horses are not confused, that every time they go in the arena, they have a clear expectation and they know what their job is. And hopefully, as you begin to introduce leader practices, you start seeing those volunteers that really have buy-in on your mission and for your horses, that are going to continually show up to that monthly leader practice. And that's how you know, okay, I'm ready to expand this to something bigger. We're going to have more volunteers interested in this if you have the capacity to do it more often. Like I talked about before, our horse feedback form is also super, super, super valuable. I cannot imagine not having this horse feedback form anymore. That's how incredible it is. Even if it's something like a binder in your barn with a horse feedback sheet printed out in it, and you just have it accessible for instructors, therapists, volunteers to write down any questions, comments, concerns, weird things that happen in a session. I think that we're going to find that that is even more valuable than not knowing at all, right? So maybe you don't have the capacity to put it on a jot form right now, or you don't have that much desk time, so you can't spend all day checking emails, looking at horse feedback forms, right? But if it's somewhere accessible in the barn, printed out, it's in a high traffic zone where people can just fill it out. That way, when you have time to look at it, you can look through and see if you have any trends, if you have any things that people across the board are commonly struggling with. Even if you didn't have a capacity to do a leader practice, I think a horse feedback form is even more valuable. So you have the knowledge of those trends and what is happening when people are leading your horses in session. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any more questions about leader practice. I'll be happy to answer those, and maybe other people have those questions too, so we can do a short video or something like that on that. Our WAND 101 webinar coming out on Friday the 21st, next Friday, is going to have all of the documents that I talked about on it. So our leader checklists, our leader practice forms, and our horse feedback forms. All of those are going to be included in the webinar. Keep an eye out on our social medias to see what an actual leader practice looks like and what our feedback sounds to actual leaders in real time.
That's all for today. Don't forget to check the show notes below to get plugged in with us on our socials. This podcast is brought to you by Hetra University, the educational arm of the Heartland Equine Therapeutic Riding Academy in Gretna, Nebraska. Our mission is to deliver high-quality educational resources to the EAS community. To explore everything we have to offer, visit us at www.hetrauniversity.org. Thanks for hanging out with us. Until next time, keep changing lives one stride at a time.